So in the last few days, there has been this war of words between the House of Reps Committee on Security and, of course, the Benue State House of Assembly. The Benue State House of Assembly is practically rejecting the call to summon them to come and explain exactly what's going on in Benue State as regards insecurity in that state. So there's this back and forth. In fact, the governor has said he's going to challenge it in Supreme Court. How on earth would the National Assembly, the reps members, invite him to come and explain what's going on in the state, that it's not constitutional? To what extent would X-ray that? Because today we have a constitutional lawyer, his Honorable Barrister NWABUEZE, who would give us a background to this and what we can expect going forward. Good to have you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, our viewers.
All right. There's a lot has been said about, whether it is constitutional for the National Assembly to invite, leaders of the state assembly to come and explain what's going on, or even the governor. I've really never heard that before. But what does the Constitution say about this issue?
The Nigerian 1999 Constitution, like you well know, is the document that hands out powers to various persons, hands out powers to individuals, to political office holders, anybody occupying any position in this country. Whatever power he is wielding is the one given to him by the Constitution, including individuals. Any person who is living in this country, whether you are born here or not born here, whether you're a Nigerian or not a Nigerian, but you are resident in Nigeria, whatever your actions and inactions are governed by the Constitution. By saying that these things are governed by the Constitution, I mean to say that even if the Constitution does not expressly and directly govern what that person is doing, the Constitution does that through other laws that are made valid by the provisions of the Constitution. That is why, if you look at Section 1, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution, it clearly says that every part of this country, or indeed the country itself, can never be governed except by the provisions of the 1999 Constitution. Now, you know that the legislature is the engine room of democracy. The legislature is the first branch of government in Nigeria. That's why it is the first of the three arms that was created by the Constitution. It was created by Section 4 of the Constitution. Just like the American Constitution makes the American Parliament the first branch of government. That's Article 1 of the American Constitution. And so, if you now look at that same Constitution of this country, 1999, the second section that creates an arm of government is Section 5, and it creates the executive arm. And then, of course, the judicature follows by Section 6. Now, that Section 4 that creates the Constitution, that creates the legislature, creates the bicameral legislature at the center, and of course, that's Section 4, subsection 2, creates the houses of assembly as in charge of the states. The legislature has various powers. The National Assembly has various powers. The House of Assembly has various powers. Whatever powers the National Assembly has at the center, the House of Assembly also has at the various states. Now, if you look at Section 128 of the Constitution, it tells you how the National Assembly, or that is any of the houses of assembly at the national, or any committee appointed by that house, can investigate into any question. They can investigate into how, in order to control the various arms of the federal government. So they can conduct investigation, they can conduct inquiry, they can invite anybody, they can do this, they can do that. of course, to strengthen the provisions of Section 128 of the 1999 Constitution, that same Constitution in Section 129 now strengthens the hand of the National Assembly in order to achieve the purposes, the intendment of Section 128. Section 129 states that the National Assembly, any house of the National Assembly, or any committee created by the National Assembly can summon anybody to appear before it, either for the purposes of investigation, to produce evidence, or to produce a document, or to answer questions. So the National Assembly has that power. And of course, Section 129, I think subsection 2 or 3, now also, because if the law says that somebody should take an action, there should be a penalty for not taking the action. So if the law says the National Assembly can summon anybody to appear before her.
Anybody.
What of if that person refuses to appear? So the Constitution now in its wisdom, the drafters of the Constitution in Section 129, subsection 2 or 3, now says the National Assembly can issue a warrant for the arrest of that person who has refused or failed to honor the invitation of the National Assembly to appear before her, or a committee of the National Assembly to appear before her. That same power is inures to the various houses of assembly. Bet, and a very big bet. You cannot wield that power without, there is no power anywhere in the Constitution that has no limit. There's no power in any law that has no limit. No power is sacrosanct. No authority can be wielded without checks. That's why in the federal government you have 3 arms of government. In the states you have 3 arms of government, because each of them is supposed to be a watch over the other. Each of the arms has to be a watch over the other. So that's why I talk about the checks and balances.
So can the national, thank you for this background, it's really, really profound that you're putting this background. Can the National Assembly summon the governor of a state?
The National Assembly can. He said any person. But remember I said bet, and there is a very big bet. You cannot just take your mind back to the Second Republic when the National Assembly summoned Joseph Wires. No, sorry, not Joseph Wires. The Momo, Anthony, is it Anthony Momo, the senior brother, summoned him, and the man refused to go. He went to court. And of course, at the end of the day, the court said the National Assembly didn't have the power to summon him. So there are issues under which you can summon. That's why I said, if those issues where the National Assembly can summon anybody, you can't summon outside those issues.
So what are the provisions that allow a National Assembly to summon an individual, or whether they are their positions, whether presidents, state governors, or even leaders of the State House of Assembly?
The power the National Assembly has to summon inures to the National Assembly over every human being, insofar as that person is resident in Nigeria.
Even if they are covered with immunity?
Even no matter the immunity that you have.
Because, I mean, these governors, presidents, have immunity clause. You can't investigate them.
The National Assembly can summon them, not to investigate them. But
if you're summoning somebody, you are investigating them.
No, when you summon a person, I'm coming to summon. I don't want to touch summon now. As far as the people that enjoy immunity under Section 308 are concerned, I'll get to that. But when you summon a person, insofar as Section 128 is concerned, it's not that kind of summon on the person himself. You are summoning him in order to get information that will assist the National Assembly to do things that will help the state, not to get information about what should be, whether an offense should be meted out to him or whether he has done anything wrongly. No, that's the intent of Section 308.
But if you are summoning him to get an information, you must, I mean, you can get that information by just asking for it.
That's the same thing as summon. If this National Assembly can decide to invite, invite and summon are not the same. They're almost the same, but they are certainly not. Because when you talk about summon, it has some tint of compulsion. But invitation is, you can come, you may not come. But let me say this. The National Assembly, the powers of the National Assembly, under Section 128, and the same thing as the powers of the Houses of Assembly, is to call you, come, let us see, what did you do here? What did you do here? Please tell us. Do you think that there was something that stopped? What is it that this action you took, why did it not succeed? Is there anything you think we can do, the National Assembly can do, to make this thing that you have done to succeed, so that the ship of state will not collapse? That's why the National Assembly or the House of Assembly will invite, will summon. They are not summoning you in order to investigate the bribe that you ate, or to investigate why you have not, this offense should not be hung on your neck. So that's the difference, I said, between the provisions of Section 128 in respect of summon and that of 1308. Now, Section 129 provides that if the man refuses to come, you can issue a warrant for his arrest.
Can you arrest the governor?
That's why I said I want to keep it apart for now. I'm now getting into it.
Okay.
As far as those persons that enjoy immunity, the 4 persons, I'm talking of the president, the vice, the governor, the deputy. For those four persons, you cannot wield the big stick against them. That's Section 129. You cannot issue a warrant for the arrest, because Section 308 gives them immunity from arrest, gives them immunity from prosecution, gives them immunity from such things until they have even gives them immunity from court processes. You can't go to court against any of them unless that you are going to court in the person's capacity as just a governor. You want to sue the state. If you want to sue the state, you can put you can put governor of so state. It doesn't mean you are suing the governor directly. You are suing the state. But when you now add the man's name, Okeko, His Excellency Okeko Kafo, Executive Governor of so place, it becomes a different ball game. But even at that, the suit still has to be looked at. If it is a suit that attaches to the person in office, no. But if it is a suit that attaches to his office, yes. To the person in office, no. To his office itself, yes. Because you are suing the office. You are suing the state. You have the right to sue the state, because the state is an individual as far as the law is concerned, and there is equality before the law. Okay,
so as it stands now, the House of Reps are actually summoning the leaders of the State Assembly. And the leaders of the State Assembly are saying that they don't have the jurisdiction to do that. What does the Constitution say about that?
What the Constitution said, the way you look at it from the prism of the fact that why are they summoning these people? That is what makes the summon wrong or right.
Oh, okay.
It's not, that's why I said they have the right to summon.
Okay.
But what will be looked at is the reason why you are summoning. If the reason why you are summoning is beyond your powers, then you cannot, the person can decide to ignore you.
Okay.
If you issue a warrant for his arrest, he goes to court. But he may not want to wait till you issue a summon for his arrest. He may want to go soon as you summon him to appear before you.
Okay.
To let the court look at the reason why you have summoned him, to enable the court see whether confirm or refuse or deny that the National Assembly has the jurisdiction to summon the members of the Benue State House of Assembly. The reason why they are summoning members of the Benue State House of Assembly is because of insecurity.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to go into preambles, but let me tell you, it's very important for us to know that there is nobody in the state that controls security in this country. Nobody in any state.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Even when governors are called chief security officers?
The governors are not chief security officers of any state.
The governors are not?
They are not.
But the Constitution says that they are.
The Constitution has not said so.
Really?
Go through the Constitution from section 1 to section 320. There is no place it says the governor is the chief security officer of the state.
Really?
Now, the Constitution at section 215 says that appoints the Inspector General of Police. At section 215 subsection 4, the Constitution says that the governor or a commissioner appointed by the governor for that purpose can issue directions in respect of security to the commissioner of police. That same section, same subsection has a proviso. The proviso says that the commissioner of police has a right to tell the governor that he will not do it until the governor gets permission, clearance, approval from Abuja. From who? The Inspector General of Police, who acts on behalf of the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, section 130. The section 130 makes the president three very important positions: the head of state, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, he is the head of state, is the chief executive officer of this country. He's in charge of all the peace offices, all the police, all the military formations. Any organization that has force of arms is controlled by the president. That's why it's commander-in-chief. The governor is not commander-in-chief. The governor does not control any security operation, any security organization in Nigeria. The only one that is closest that the governor can just say, please, assist us now, is the police. So all the governor can do is, Commissioner, beg now, please, help us do this, do this. If the commissioner feels that something, commissioner can, well, what you said is right, but please, talk to them there. Let them give me instruction to do it before I can do it. So do you call such a person a chief security officer? It's not. In fact, before the 1999 Constitution, the Police Act of 1943 had made the same provision. This provision that section 215 subsection 4 made, and even the proviso, was also made by section 10 subsection 2 of the Police Act of 1943, which was enforced until 2020 when Buhari enacted a new Police Act. That new Police Act of 2020 does not have that provision. But remember, the Constitution, which is superior to the Police Act, has a provision. The Police Act is subservient to the Constitution. So now, if the Benue State governor does not have any control over any military formation, why would you blame him for any security breach in his state? And the House of Assembly of Benue State has not, their job is just to legislate. They cannot even legislate on the police. They can't legislate on army. They can't legislate on even civil defense, the most common of all the formations. The Benue State government, House of Assembly, cannot legislate on any of these persons. They're under the exclusive legislative list, which was created by Section 4 of the Constitution. That's Part 1 of the second schedule to the 1999 Constitution. The House of Assembly has no control over any of these persons. They cannot legislate in respect of any of these organizations. So what is their business? What's their business? The person that can answer the question which the National Assembly wants answered is the Commissioner of Police of Benue, not even the governor. Well, to some extent, you can call the governor a principal security officer of the state. Principal security officer, not chief security. He's not.
So, with your analysis, who is the chief security officer of a state?
The commander-in-chief of the this country. That's the president.
Of each state?
The president of Nigeria is the chief security officer of every state.
Based on the Constitution?
Of course, that's what the Constitution says. Now, the Inspector General of Police does it for him. Unless the president, the Inspector General of Police reads his body language and thinks that he doesn't want so and so. That's why, take your mind back to the other day when Buhari was in power. The nomadic cattle rearers were riding roughshod over the entire country, and nobody could do anything. The Benue State governor at that time, Oton, was always going with tears in his hands to the president, begging, because he can't tell the police to do anything. And the president would tell him, go and give them land now. If they want land, go and give them land. Go and give them land means what? That your people should move out so that the nomadic Fulanis will take over. That's why a lot of persons are saying that it is high time, it is long overdue for the states to own their own police formations, just like the way it is in America, which you are copying from every angle. We copy a lot of things, and yet we refuse to copy the ones that make America thick. Every state. I was an apostle of the fact that states, because of the overbearing influence of state governors, that states should not own police formations. But the things that has happened in the last 10 years has brought that particular statement under a microscope. We're now looking at it with our lens and thinking that it should be revisited. States should own police formations. Because if states owned police formations, you cannot allow a nomad to carry AK-47 and be pulling people's cassava out of the farm and cutting it for his cows to feed on. And the owner of the farm will just be looking at him. When you are looking at him, you can't even sigh. I'm not talking of talking. I'm saying for you to sigh, because if you sigh, the thing may anger the ragtag nomad, and the man will just finish you. He has an AK-47. You don't have a knife. In fact, remember at that time that the IG said any person that has any weapon should bring it out. So even if you have a machete, you bring it out. You submit it to the federal government. But the nomad moves with AK-47. You'll be looking at it.
But I mean, people who say state police are the welcome development, some persons countered it because we're not yet a country that trusts each other. We've had to go through a civil war, and that distrust is still there. When you hand over security apparatus to the states, don't you think that interstate chaos would increase? Don't you also think that state governors will start having some mindset about, like you said, you using the police to their own advantage or chasing opposition parties in their states? So those issues, are still there. We still have this primordial sentiments that comes with having states control their policing system.
Well, yes, I agree with you. There cannot be a perfect system in the world. Even in America, it doesn't exist. No system is perfect. But every system has to evolve. We have been in this democracy for about 25 years, and we need to move forward. We cannot stand still. Yes, I agree. When you have state police, some of the governors may begin to use the thing to witch hunt their political enemies, but then you can't, somehow the country must move forward. It's a system whereby everything is concentrated at the center, and some persons are using that concentration of everything at the center to subjugate the rest of the country. Is not a system that should exist in the world. It's a system that is so anachronistic, and its time has long passed. The world is moving at a very jet age, and Nigeria is still sitting and folding its arms and watching. We can't continue that. That's why this country is exceedingly backward. Because some persons who have control of the state force apparatus, who do not want to move forward, insist that those other persons that want to move forward should sit down and just fold their arms, sit akimbo, and do whatever they tell you to do. That's the problem we have in Nigeria. Look, is it too much to say, since we have tried the American model, it's not even, we're not even operating the American model, because the American model is a true federation. Nigeria is not a true federation. Nigeria is a unitary system in operation and in content, but federation on the surface. They say Nigeria is a federation, but Nigeria is not a federation, because when you come to a federation, all the constituent parts have some kind of quasi-independence over all their economic activities. Any natural resource deposited in their territory by God is under their control. They mine it, they create industries, they do everything, they make their money, they export to other countries, they do everything, and now they give a percentage of whatever they make in 1 year. They give a percentage they pay a percentage of it to the federal government. For the federal government to operate those few things that are under the control of the federal government. Things like the army, the external affairs, the currency, and few other things. There is no way. Look, what we do in this country is to continue to duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. Every day we pass laws and laws and laws. Go and look at the body of laws of this country. There are laws that have been duplicated 5-6 times. Yesterday I watched a television, and I heard that the House of Representatives, somebody had sponsored 2 bills. One for creation of a specialist hospital, and another for the creation of a technical school. Is it? A polytechnic in Kano. Nobody has asked himself. The rules of every House of Assembly, the rules of every legislature in Nigeria, as well as overseas, is that if you bring a bill, that bill must come with it a compendium of the financial implication of that bill. What does it mean? That bill will come along with it, the financial. If if you pass this law, it's going to cost the state 2 naira to set up, to obey the law, to do everything that the law has said should be obeyed, should be done. So that before the legislature will pass it, will even, when they are considering, they will also consider it alongside the money that is required. Oh, the bill will require about 2 naira. Can the state afford this 2 naira? Do we have it? Let's look at our GDP. Let's look at our budget for the year. Let's look at our revenue yearly. Let's look at our current expenditure. Can we spare 2 more naira to do this? You need to look at these things. You need to ask yourself these questions. It's only when the questions are asked and answered in the affirmative, that's the only time you can begin to toy with. Even looking at the provisions of the bill to make it, to adapt it to the country. But these days, you don't need to be told that the financial implications, the compendium may not come with the bill. And if it does, nobody considers it. Otherwise, how would you continue to establish polytechnics every day, establish new universities every day, establish new hospitals every day, when even the ones you have cannot be funded? That's somebody denuding himself. We are taught primarily in elementary school that it is wrong for a man to be non-compos mentis, for a man to be in a state of mental infirmity. You don't do so. The various houses, the various assemblies, legislatures have, each of them should have some advisor, kind of advisors, personal assistant. Their job, researchers. You need to, for any law, not when you bring a law of about 500 pages, a bill of 500 pages, you give it to a legislator. You give it to him today, tomorrow it is passed. That legislator knows nothing. There is nothing in that bill that he knows. Even his PAs have not even looked at it. That's why when the federal government begins to do certain things, even the members of the National Assembly will start crying foul that such things not contained in their law. And the federal government will bring out the law and show them. It is hidden somewhere right inside the law. They didn't see, they didn't know, nobody called their attention to it. They passed it, and now they're saying we never pass such law. And so it's a country that wants to go forward, that wants to progress, cannot work in that way.
Right. I think some time ago, under Buhari, the National Assembly tried to summon the president to come and explain some of the issues. Then there was also security issues. And there were this back and forth whether the National Assembly can summon the president. We've talked about the governor, we talked about the executives of the State House of Assembly. Moving forward to the president, you have mentioned that it is okay for the National Assembly to summon anyone, but it depends on what it is.
Exactly.
Okay, so for the matters of security, do you think that the National Assembly can summon the president?
The National Assembly can summon the president on fact-finding mission. Oga President, please tell us, why has Boko Haram continued to make more inroads into the country? Instead of, like when Buhari was in power, they kept telling us that Boko Haram had been sufficiently degraded. It was a sing song. Now, under the present government, I'm not sure that anything has changed. So the National Assembly can say, Oga President, I better come. Please tell us. This about 200 Boko Haram people. Oh, let me even tell you. I just remembered. During Buhari's tenure, there was a jailbreak at Gwagwalada prison. Now, at Abuja, please. I'm not sure it's
even it's in Kuje.
Kuje, yes. Kuje prison, that's right. No. So, it was as if the DSS was not working. How could there be a jailbreak? Does it mean nobody ever knew? How could these people have coordinated it, planned it, that the DSS never heard about it, nobody heard about it? Nigerians and the international community were dumbfounded. And I think it was either the Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps or the Majority Leader of the House of Reps told us that he counted 30-something security alerts sent by DSS to Mr. President on that same jailbreak. So it was not one day, it was not 2 days, it was various times, 30-something security alerts. So the DSS is working.
Right.
But when things happen in Nigeria, you begin to wonder whether DSS works. They do, but their job is advisory. There are certain things they can't do without the CNC saying, go ahead and do it. So it is, the question in Nigeria is not whether we know what we can do to make Nigeria to be among the committee of developed countries in the world. Nigerians know. But when we are told these things, do we have ears to hear them? If we hear them, do we understand what we have heard? If we understand them, are we willing to abide by those things and do those things that we have been told to do?
Well, Honorable Barrister NWABUEZE, I mean, this is an amazing expose that you're giving us this morning regarding our constitution as it regards, summoning of leaders, especially when they have immunity. Many thanks for your time, sir. We truly
Thank you, my
appreciate it.
brother, and thank you, our viewers also.
All right, we're back after this short break. Do stay with us.
Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.